right. Well, hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? Paige, are we swapping you out for Divya, or is Divya coming on today as well?
Divya should be on later.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, current students, thank you so much for being here. You all are going to be so important, I know, for our students who are considering coming to Vanderbilt, because I'm sure they have a ton of questions for you. So thank you for coming. And what I thought I would do is just kind of start us off, get us a little bit of an overview, and then have us break out into breakout rooms maybe, so that you all can ask like specific questions from a student point of view. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to this afternoon. My name is Brian Kissel. I am the director of our elementary ed program, of our master's elementary ed program. And I'm going to be your contact person from now until you decide if you're coming or not. We hope you do decide to choose us. And I will continue to be your point person as you go throughout the program. So I will be teaching you a couple classes next year. I'll be teaching a writing course, and I'll be teaching a Maymester course about diverse learners in May. So you'll see me a couple times as a teacher, but you'll also know me primarily as a director throughout your experience here. So I just wanted to get a quick sense of where everybody's from. So let me put this link in our chat. And if you could put a sticky here, I'm going to open up our Jamboard. Put a sticky. Let me make sure I have this shared for everybody. Yeah, okay. Put a sticky for where you're from, so that we can just get a sense where everybody else is from. And while we're doing that, I'm hoping our current students could just say a quick hello and a quick introduction of who you all are. So Bailey, let me start with you, and then I'll let you pass it to the next person.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. Hi, everyone. My name is Bailey McCrainer. I'm a current student in the Master's Elementary program. I'm also our program assistant, so you may be hearing from me a little bit, but I'm so excited to get to know each and every one of you today, and I'll pass it off to Paige and Amanda.
Sorry, I was looking for the unmute button. Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Smith. I am a master's student in the program. I'm originally from Connecticut and so excited to meet you all today.
And I'm Paige. Ann and I are lesson planning together today, so we thought we'd join.
Nice.
I am also in the program and originally from Massachusetts.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. Oh, Maddie, do you want to share?
Yeah, sorry, I kind of joined last minute. My name is Maddie. I'm also in the program, and I'm from Ohio. Nice to meet you all.
All right, well, thank you all for joining. We have a few people joining us today. I got a few messages from folks who weren't able to join us, but will be watching the video of this a little bit later. So welcome, everybody. I'm looking at where everybody's from. Of course, I've already talked to Annie, and Annie and I are both from the same hometown. So that's always exciting. Because we can share all sorts of things about our hometown together. But it looks like we have Julia. Oh, we have a few people from California. Yep, we have, let's see here. Let me make my screen a little bit bigger. Kristen, Julia, and Audrey are all from California. So welcome. We've had several people from California join our program over the years. Folks who are in our program now, who do we have from California in our group this year? Do we have anybody?
Me. I'm from San
Bailey.
Diego.
Yeah,
I see
okay.
Audrey is too.
And then Delaney's from kind of more Northern California.
Okay. Yep. So Audrey and Bailey, y'all should say what high school y'all went to, so see if y'all know each other's high school. Did you go to high school, Bailey, in San Diego? And Audrey,
Yeah.
did you go to high school in San Diego? or are you just living there now as a college student?
I grew up there. So, and I didn't really grow up it's technically San Diego, but it's more inland. So it's like not by the beach at all. It's called Valley Center. So I don't know if you know where that is, but definitely inland.
Nice. All right. Well, California is representing. So, and then Molly, Charleston, South Carolina, that is one gorgeous city. So welcome from Charleston. One of my favorite cities to visit and go to. And I have friends that live there. And actually I have some family members that live in Mount Pleasant, which is not too far, it's like a suburb, right? Of Charleston.
Yeah, that's technically where I'm from, but most
Okay.
people don't know where that is, so I say Charleston.
Do you know any of the Stanton family? So it would be Molly. I have 4 cousins, but they're older than you, but not that much older than you. Molly Stanton, Katie Stanton. Oh my gosh, what are my other 2 cousins' names? It's 4 girls. Molly. I'm drawing a blank here for a second. I'm from a huge family, so my
No
mom is
worries.
my mom is one of 14 children. So I have about 40 something first cousins. And so it's Molly, Katie, Amy, and Caroline Stanton. Do you know any of
I
them?
think Caroline, but my
Caroline would be the
class in high
closest to your
school is-
age.
Yeah,
The
there was like
closest.
1,000 people in my grade, so it was a
Yeah.
very big high school.
Okay. All right. And their mom is Kelly Stanton. She's I forgot what school she works at. She's married to my uncle, so she's my aunt, in-law. And she's at an elementary school there as like a office worker in an elementary school. So, well, welcome. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about our program, and then I want to make sure you all have some time to ask any kinds of questions that you might have. I do have a Jamboard here for asking questions, so I'm going to put that link in our chat as well. So as our webinar unfolds, please feel free just to add some questions to that Jamboard, and I'll circle back around toward the end of our webinar to answer any of those questions that you might have. So I'm going to begin with just our mission statement from our college and from our department specifically. And I just think we wrote this mission statement a couple years ago, and I really try to consider it in any kind of decision I make as an instructor, as a teacher, and as a program director. And I really try to make sure we're kind of living the statement in the work that we do. So I'm just going to read it out loud, just so you can kind of know a little bit about who we are and what we kind of believe in as it pertains to teacher education. So the Department of Teaching and Learning prepares educators and conducts research to promote joyful and socially just learning and teaching in schools and community spaces. Our innovative approaches to educator and researcher development and to research provide opportunities for deep explorations of teaching and learning within and across disciplinary domains. We are committed to designing contexts that better support all learners and their communities, especially those from historically marginalized and who are historically marginalized in society. So that's kind of the mission that we live by, and we try to live up to that mission throughout the year as a community together. So our program is a year long. It's actually a little less than a year. It's about 11 months. You will begin in July of 2023 and July 11th specifically. And you will have 2 courses during that July experience. So it's a social studies methods and an intro to arts and children's lit course. And then you go into fall, and the fall session begins August 23rd. And the fall is pretty heavy in terms of course load. So the bulk of your classes are going to be in the fall. You'll learn methods for teaching math, for teaching reading, for teaching writing. You'll have a practicum where you'll spend 2 days 2 whole days a week in schools and classrooms. And you'll also have a learning ecologies class, which really centers our work in equity, access, and inclusion. And so you'll be taking all those courses at the same time. So it's a heavy content load, but it kind of works together in a lot of ways. Like the writing and literacy and math courses all help inform what you do in your practicum experience out in schools. In the spring semester, you're going to spend that entire semester student teaching. So that's from January 8th through April 22nd. And it's Monday through Friday. You're in elementary schools, just like working the same hours that your mentor teacher will be working. So typically it's like from 7:30 or so to 3:30 or 4, depending on what the school schedule is. And then Tuesday nights, you're going to have a seminar class that will help you prepare for an assessment that you'll have to take. It's an assessment called the EdTPA. And it will also give you a chance to kind of confer with peers about what's happening in your student teaching experience. Let me go back for a second. In the fall semester, you will have classes on Mondays and Thursdays. And then Tuesdays and Wednesdays, you're in elementary schools all day. And then Friday, you don't have class or field work. So Fridays are open days for you. Some people will substitute teach, or they might just catch up on work. But that day is flexible for you. Then we end your time with us in Maymester, where you take 2 more content-rich courses. One is recognizing and responding to diverse learners, and the other is science concepts. So that will be your Maymester experience, and then you're done. So at the end of May is when you will be completely done with all your coursework. And we then at that point make a recommendation for licensure. So we are a licensure program. By the time that you graduate with us and you've successfully done your student teaching, and you have successfully passed this EdTPA assessment, then you will be licensed to teach K through 6th grade. And so our focus throughout our program is we do a lot of field work, practicum type of work. We do a really immersive student teaching experience. And at the end of it, you get a teaching license in the state of Tennessee. But that teaching license has a lot of reciprocity with almost every other state in the country. We have a wonderful person in our licensure office who will help you figure out what are the licensure requirements for whichever state that you want to go to. And if that state requires like an additional test that you have to take or something, she'll let you know so that you can transfer your license over to that state. So almost everybody comes to us from somewhere else. It's rare that we have like a Nashvilleian join our cohort, but it does happen. We usually always have 1 or 2 a cohort, but most people come from all over the country and all over the world in some respects. So and a lot of people more than ever are staying in Nashville. Over the last 2 years, I would say about 75% or 80% of our cohorts end up loving Nashville so much that they stay in Nashville. That has not always been the case. So in the past, people have gotten their teaching license in Tennessee and they go back to a state where they are from, or they go to a different state that they've always wanted to live. But that's been really changing a lot in the last couple of years. And I think it's because of Nashville being such a draw for people. We have lots of different experiences that you will be having in school experiences particularly. So I just have some different pictures of students over the years working in schools with kids. You'll be doing one-on-one type of work with students. You'll do group work with students. And then of course you would do whole class teaching. And then you'll be really studying the art and the science of teaching. And you will be well supported as you as you do this work out in the field. We have partnerships with several schools in the Metro Nashville public school system. Our two perennial schools that we always work with are Fall Hamilton Elementary and Whitsitt Elementary. This year we're working with Andrew Jackson Elementary and Lockland Elementary School. We've had such great experiences there. I suspect that we'll probably continue working with them as well next year. And so what we do is you'll be placed in one school in the fall in a particular like K2 or 3-5 classroom. And then in the spring, you'll be in a whole different school in a whole different grade level. So you get a pretty wide variety of practicum experience. And I just want to show you all some MED in action photos. And this could be a great time for folks who are current students to hop in and just talk a little bit about like, what are some things that you all have been doing in your schools? Because you all are in some of these pictures here. So, oh, hi, Divya. I just saw you joining us. Divya, you want to
Hi.
introduce yourself to everybody real quick?
Sure, I'm Divya. I am currently in the MEd program. I'm at Andrew Jackson. Actually, I'm wearing an Andrew Jackson shirt because today is our color day. And yeah, I'm in some of these photos from the fall when I was in Fall
Nice.
Hamilton. Yeah, what are we doing right now? Well, I am currently in 4th grade. So I'm in an ELA classroom because 4th grade at the school I'm in is departmentalized. So I do a lot of ELA. And it's a really good experience because last semester I was in self-contained. So kind of being able to see like, both being departmentalized and self-contained and having experience in both kind of for what I want to do in the future has been really like a good practice to see both. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you. Others of you who are currently working, Amanda, Paige, Bailey,
Yeah, Paige and I can
Maddie.
speak.
Yeah.
So the two of us are at both at Fall Hamilton in 3rd grade classes, and it's really awesome because we're in the 2 3rd grade classes. We work really closely together. Our mentor teachers do a lot of planning together, which means we do a lot of planning together. And it's been great to kind of have a support from each other, but also the cohort as a whole as we do student teaching, because we are in the 5 days a week, full on, everything's happening part of the semester.
Yeah, I think something that's really unique, it seems, about our program is that we're able to work together outside of like working in the schools. So we are working toward our EdTPA license assessment right now. And it's been very collaborative, like working with each other in order to finish those, even though we have to complete them individually. But I would say the small cohort aspect of the Vanderbilt Master's program was a huge draw for me, and it has been so wonderful to have that support because being a student teacher, you are kind of having all these new experiences and working with superiors like your mentor teacher who are really supportive, but at the same time, they're not going through the same experience that you are going through at all. And so to have that, like right now, Amanda and I are working really closely together. But when I was in my practicum in the fall, I was the only one on my grade level at Whitsitt. And so Bailey and I were at Whitsitt together, but we really wouldn't see each other till the end of the day. So to have that, we would carpool and kind of talk about our days. And I see Bailey here with her 1st graders at Whitsitt at the pumpkin patch.
With
It's so
in the blue
cute.
shirts.
Yeah, so like the group picture next to that's our cohort. And yeah, I can't emphasize enough how great it is to have the support of everyone.
Definitely second that.
And
Yeah.
I can add on.
Go ahead. Go for it, Bailey.
Oh, I was just saying that'd be a great point to add on with Paige, where there's a lot of intersectionality between it because Paige and Amanda are working together this semester. I'm working with Maddie at Lockland. Last semester I was with Paige. So you really do get to see not only different schools, different grade levels, you get to work closely with different members in your cohort, which is really great. And there usually tends to be multiple people, so not just two. I think most of our schools have about 4 people at a school. So you do have quite a bit of teamwork there. And yeah, those are my first graders. I just want to shout out on the bottom. We went on a trip to a pumpkin patch because that's also another huge part of the program, is really getting to take on that leadership role within the classroom. So by the end of this semester and my last semester, I truly am starting to feel like a person in the classroom that gets to do all their experiences. Right above that was all the cards they wrote me at the end of fall semester, which was really hard to leave, but that was also such a beautiful moment to see how much I got to impact their lives. And then up top in the right-hand corner, that is me teaching from one of my teaching videos, because you will be videoing yourself teaching all the time. And it was really cool to look back on that and just see yourself become a teacher in the program.
Yeah, we'll never place you by yourself in a school. So you'll always have somebody else in that school, and likely you'll have multiple people in that school with you. I remember being student teaching myself way back 25 years ago now, and being by myself in a school, and it is pretty isolating. So we really try to make sure that you have a peer with you at that school, so that you can have those conversations in the car on the way back and forth from your placement. So.
And could I add one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say also the way the program's set up, it really supports you in creating those relationships within the cohort before you go into student teaching, where it's a little bit more isolating. So like, because you have classes over the summer and in the fall where you're able to create, you have all the same classes together. And so you're able to create that bond so that then you can lean on each other when you go into starting to complete the EdTPA and student teaching, which was really important to me.
Yeah, you'll have a small group, like, well, somewhere probably between 10 and 20 people will be in the cohort together. So, and my guess is we'll probably be more like in the 15, maybe the 12 to 15 range of students who will join us next year. And we love having this small group because you do become really close with one another and you get to know one another and you become a community together that continues to support one another. Like I know, like our cohort from last year, they get together. Maybe it's some of my undergrads. They all have like a monthly check-in where even though they've graduated, they still check in with one another to see how everyone's doing and to get ideas from each other for teaching. And I suspect the current group will probably do something similar because you all have been so close this year. So I did want to show you all just some pictures around Peabody. So Vanderbilt University is the university that we're at, and then Peabody College is the College of Education within Vanderbilt. So you'll hear people use Peabody and Vanderbilt interchangeably when we talk about our College of Education, because Peabody has its own very distinctive kind of personality on campus. We used to be a teaching college that was separate from Vanderbilt. But Peabody College merged with Vanderbilt a couple decades ago and joined the Vanderbilt community as a college within Vanderbilt. So we think we're the pretty part of campus, honestly. Don't y'all think? And these are pictures from campus. So you see the building behind me in my screen is called the Wyatt Center, and that's where most of your classes will be. It will either be in that or a brand new building that we have called Six Magnolia. And that building, this Wyatt building, is also the building where all of your professors' offices will be. So you'll be spending a lot of time in there. And in that building, we have like places where you can sit, in couches and just kind of hang out and relax. And we have a big reception area that will host events, and there'll be food and things like that at events. We also have some of our classes in rooms right next to these big tables. And so sometimes we just will do small groups and stuff out here in the lobby kind of area. It's kind of a cozy, really pretty area. The rotunda is what you see on the top right. That's the dome that you see on top of the building. And within that dome is just a really beautiful kind of speaker space. And we will sometimes have special events in there that you will join. And there's a big open field. So there's a lot of like activity that kind of goes on, especially when the weather gets really nice. I was on campus, what's today? Is today Wednesday? Yeah, so yesterday I had class and we had part of our class outside yesterday because it's like 80 degrees right now, which is kind of unusual for February in Nashville, but we're gonna take advantage of it. I have a couple different, so that you can see the campus yourself. I have a link to some tours. I'm gonna put that in the chat for you. This link that I'm putting on here now is just a link for a self-guided tour of just the Peabody campus. So the Peabody campus actually is comprised of about, I want to say like 8 or 9 buildings. So, and they're all education buildings. So, you know, it's a big part of Vanderbilt campus. And you can just take a look at some of the different buildings and spots around campus. It's really beautiful, especially in the fall when the leaves start to change, and in the spring when leaves start coming back on the trees. That's when I think our campus really shines. The other thing that I wanted to show you is just Vanderbilt campus. So we have a pretty large campus, and it's pretty much smack in downtown Nashville. So we're about a mile or a mile and a half away from the downtown buildings and Broadway, where a lot of tourists come and have a good time. So we're really centrally located, kind of smack in the city, and Nashville, I think, is just as much of a selling point as Vanderbilt is for coming to a cool place. So the link that I just put in our chat will take you all around the various parts of campus, so you can kind of see what campus looks like. We would love for you to come to visit, but if you can't visit, this is a great way to kind of see the campus. The other thing I want to highlight is just Nashville itself. Nashville is a really fun, interesting city. And what I love about Nashville is we're also the capital of Tennessee. So you'll have a lot of government types of buildings and a lot of like active type of advocacy things going on at the Capitol area, and the Capitol area is downtown as well. But then you also have all the fun kind of like honky tonks, and so like different bars you can go to. There, over here on the bottom left is the Ryman Auditorium, where you can see really great music. It's actually an old church that has been converted into a music space, and so you actually sit in pews and watch people do their act and sing, and it is really a cool place to go see a concert. And extremely historical. There's also great places to eat. Pancake Pantry is a favorite, and that's right by campus. So a lot of time there's always a long line, but the line goes quickly. Prince's Hot Chicken is what Nashville is known for. So there's lots of good hot chicken places around town. There's the Grand Ole Opry, where you can always see some good concerts as well, and it's not too expensive to see them. And then I just have other pictures, like here's the Parthenon. We actually have a full-scale version of the Parthenon from Greece that is located right across the street from campus. And it's a huge park that you can walk in, ride your bike in. They have concerts there. And inside the Parthenon is a museum, so you can actually see like a life-size depiction of like a Greek goddess that's in there. So it's a cool thing. They call Nashville the Athens of the South. So there's a lot of Greek revival type of architecture that you'll see all around. We also have a couple sports teams that, if you're interested in sports, Nashville Predators is a hockey team. I have not been to a hockey game yet. Have any of y'all been to a hockey game? Bailey, have you? You have? I hear they're really fun, the Nashville Predator games. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, they're amazing. I'm a big hockey fan though,
Yeah.
so I'm a little biased, but
Yeah.
hockey is amazing here. And a lot of other sports are too, like the Titans.
Yep. All right, so that's Nashville. And then Tennessee. So I'm expanding us out. I'm going from Peabody to Vanderbilt to Nashville and now to Tennessee, which I have really loved living in this part of the country. I've lived many different places. And I moved here in 2019. And what I really love about Tennessee is there's a lot of green space and a lot of hiking type of things, which I like to do with my family. So the Smoky Mountains are about 3 or 3.5 hours away, but there's a lot of hikes like nearby, only within an hour or so, where you can go and see falls and just cool hiking trails and paths that you can do. And then another major city in Tennessee that's about 3 hours away is Memphis. So you can always go to Graceland. You can go to Beale Street, which is kind of Memphis's big musical street with a bunch of bars and fun things to do. And then there's Sun Studio, which if none of y'all that are currently in the cohort have been to, that is a super cool tour that you can take of where Elvis kind of started some of his music recordings. So do a little group trip to Memphis if you get a chance. It's not too far and it's fun. So outside of our elementary ed program, there's all sorts of monthly programming that happens across Peabody's campus. So we have an office called the Office for Student Wellbeing, and they will host all sorts of different events for you all. Just get together so that you can meet some other people from other programs. They have a holistic curriculum that they put together. So they have all sorts of different types of programs that you can attend. Some about getting jobs, some about just mental health types of things. Sometimes they'll bring in baby goats and you'll do baby goat yoga. Did they do that with y'all in the fall? Have y'all done that yet?
I think we might have had it while we had class.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's always a fun day. Yeah. So yeah, this group really does a lot of cool stuff to get all of our professional students together and just to enjoy life beyond the classroom. We also will have special topics, like we'll have one coming up. I think we're going to have one in March for you all. I haven't told my cohort about this yet, but whenever there's some new law that's being passed that might affect you as teachers, we like to have town halls about it so that you're informed, that you know a lot about it. And we're going to have one. We have a couple Tennessee laws that have been passed that really affect teachers and what teachers can and can't do in classrooms. And so a lot of times we partner with our law school. We have one of the best law schools in the world. And we will do like a joint project together. So this event that I'm showing here on the screen, we had a Tennessee law that got passed that was specifically about prohibited concepts within classrooms. And so one of the law professors over there, we partnered with and we said, hey, we really need some help in understanding these laws. And can you do something with us in pursuit of this knowledge? And so the law professor set it up as a case study in his classes with his students. And then his students came over and presented to our students about what the law says and just gave us really great information about it. So we do things like that. That is not necessarily shown on your course schedule, but it's just special events that you really don't necessarily get anywhere else. We also have an initiative for race, research, and justice. It's led by one of our colleagues in our department, Rich Milner. And we always have 1 or 2 conferences a year, and he usually sets it up so students in our program can go for free. And he always has just really well-known guest speakers that teach us so much. So there's always stuff going on campus. Get guest speakers, famous people that come on campus to speak. And we always make sure you're aware of those kinds of events so that you can join with the larger Nashville community or Vanderbilt community. We have lots of different resources on campus for you for all sorts of different things. The Health Center, University Counseling Center, Counseling Center, and so forth. We also have a bunch of different student organizations. So if you, if you are interested in finding other folks across campus that share your interest or also share your same cultural identities, there's typically a student organization that you can join so that you can be in community with others. Finally, I have a couple different things. I have a housing guide. Let me put the link in the chat here. This will be a good topic for you to talk to current students about, like where do they live and how did they find those places to live. Let me just make sure this is directing you to the right place. Yep, that's our housing guide. So that's in our chat. Sorry, I have about 1,000 windows open right now. And the other one is another guide that I'm going to put in our chat, another housing guide for you that was created by our peers over in special ed. So I want to make sure you have access to those because you're going to be curious as to, where should I live when I'm in Nashville? Okay, so I'm going to stop there so that, how am I doing on time? Let's see. Okay, it's 4:38. So this is a good time for us to maybe break out into breakout rooms. But there's so few of y'all. I wonder if y'all should just stay. I wonder if y'all should just stay together and be able just to talk all together. Does that work? Do you think that's a good idea? Current students? Okay. So I'll just be quiet. I'll put myself on mute. I'll stop my video and I'll come back in about 10 or 15 minutes to wrap us up. So I want current prospective students to be able to ask current students anything they want to ask that you're curious about. And then I'll come back at 4:55 to wrap things up for us. Okay. All right.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
You guys can type questions in the chat or you can share them out loud. Either one works.
Hi, I had a question about living in Nashville, and I was just curious where y'all see that like most graduate students live and what the average rent is, since it's a pretty expensive area.
I can go first. I think we live kind of all over. Some people drive to campus while other people walk. I personally live in Music Row. And I remember looking for apartment buildings and thinking about like I wanted to be closer to downtown. It was funny. Dr. Kissel said that Vanderbilt's close to downtown. I would say Nashville's such a small city that it's not really like it is within a mile, but like I would live closer if you want to live like closer to campus, thinking of areas like Music Row, Hillsborough, Edge Hill, and I don't know if I'm forgetting any areas. Like those areas are all around campus if you want to do walking. I mean, they're also building a graduate dormitory that
That's
I
like
don't
right near campus.
Yeah, it is in a great location. I don't know if it's going to be done in time, but like Midtown area also.
Yeah.
And then there also are other great areas like Maddie lives in Germantown, and Bailey lives in Green Hills.
Yeah.
And so like those are more driving, but I don't know, Maddie and Bailey, if you want to talk about like parking?
I will talk about cars. Nashville is not a very walkable city, and there is public transport. It's not very accessible. I will not lie. Most of us have cars. I know Divya can speak to not having a car. But if you don't have a car, there are definitely a lot of options to live near campus where you can walk to campus.
Yeah.
I can add in, I'm sorry, I can add in on there living further away from campus. I chose to live in Green Hills, which is basically like the suburb outside of Nashville, but it's still only about 15 minutes away. So I would highly, highly, highly suggest using that housing guide that Dr. Kizel said. That thing, I just went through each area that it suggested in there. I was able to visit. So I went and toured those areas, and that's how I got to narrow down. And something that's really nice about that, if you're concerned about price, is that it does show varying different price ranges. So I will say Music Row, I highly suggest it too. It's not where I live. I kind of regret that because it is where a lot of graduate students live. It's walking distance. It's amazing. Paige knows I live there all the time, basically with her. But as for a car, I think it's so easy to walk to Vanderbilt if you're close by. But for our student teaching, at least this year with the 4 schools that we are all at, they are all driving distance. None of them are within walking distance of Vanderbilt, most likely not walking distance of where you live either. So this would be, if Divya wants to step in here, I know that was something that they told me at the beginning, and I'm glad I brought a car.
Yes. So I am one of 2. Everybody has a car, I think, except for me and one more person. And so I can't drive, so it was never an option. But yeah, I would say that I live close enough to walk and that to Vanderbilt, which has been really, really convenient. And then to get to student teaching, you like fill out a form and you say where you live, and they try to place you in a school that's convenient. Doesn't always happen, but there'll always be people who you can carpool with. Like everyone this year has been really helpful with carpooling to school together or carpooling to places together if you are meeting up outside of like going to student teaching. I would definitely say it would have been ideal if I had a car, but I'm able, like I don't see myself being able to live in Nashville like post Vanderbilt without having a car. It's definitely a driving city, but I have made it work. It's not ideal, but you can definitely make it work. Like it just was not an option. I'm an international student, so it was just not an option to be able to drive. And yeah, we can make it work. So that would be my opinion. So some people have parking questions, which I
can
can't
speak to
answer.
parking. So there is a parking pass that you can buy for Vanderbilt that's a year long, and they'll let you park on any parking on campus. It is on the more expensive side, I will not lie. The way I kind of got around that, there's a couple parking lots where you have to sign up for a program where you park daily, and it's like $5 a day. And like in the fall, we're only there 2 days a week. In the spring right now, we're only there 1 day a week. So that's, I think, a little bit more of an accessible option. If you don't want to pay for the full-time parking pass, I'll look up what the parking program is called, but I think you can easily find it through the Vanderbilt like parking system.
Kind of on the opposite end with that. The $5 a day one is great, and I have the yearly one. It is pricey, but I think it's worth it, especially if you don't live near Vanderbilt. Because when I do go over to Paige's house in Music Row, I can park at Vanderbilt, and it's 24-hour parking, no assigned spots. And because you're a graduate student, you get to park in all the faculty lots. So there's a ton of parking available to you. And so it's really nice to be able, if you don't live in like downtown Nashville, to be able to like have a point that I can leave my car here and not spend $40 a night on overnight parking.
I also wanted to add about having a car in Nashville. So I lived in Boston the past 2 years before moving here, and it was so expensive to even have a car at my apartment building in Boston that one of the years I didn't, and then one of the years I like had to. But here at a lot of the apartment buildings, parking is free for like, if you have a 1 bedroom or however many bedrooms you have in your building, you usually get parking with it. And then like one person in our program is living, Sarah's living in a building that the parking lot connected to her building is technically owned by Vanderbilt. And so that allows her to then like park in other lots that are like on the same level. So I would say, yes, bring it, like if you have a car. I remember being in the same meeting and asking Dr. Kissel, like, I take public transportation in Boston, what's that like here? And him being like, I wouldn't take it. So definitely like, oh, okay, like if I can bring a car, I clearly should. But there are so many ways that, like, if you live nearby and you need to park your car, you're not always paying. And everything, the city is so small that like you're usually only driving 10 minutes away, or like max 30. And so like, and the prices of gas are relatively cheaper than like where I'm from.
Then the Northeast.
Yeah.
Then the
So,
Northeast for sure.
there are some ways that like you're not paying a ton to have a car in other respects. I don't know if that makes you feel any better. But
Yeah, Nashville is, I would say, a driving city, but because it's a driving city, it's easy to drive around, if that makes sense. And so there you can find parking options.
I'd even say that like that housing like map that Dr. Kissel gave, like I live in Germantown, which is at like the top, and then like Vanderbilt looks like it's like all the way down here, but it takes like max 10-15 minutes from like any of those spots to like get anywhere. So it's not like too terribly far away. So you can get places even if you live in Germantown or Green Hills, like you can get to Vanderbilt in like 10-15 minutes.
While we're on the topic of living, I wish Dr. Kissel would have shouted this out more, because this was something coming from California where I was like, my whole life, the thought of leaving my state was really scary. But when I got here, I realized that at least in this cohort this year, every single person is out of state. So I promise you will not be alone if you're coming from super far away, coming from a big city, little city. Vanderbilt does a really good job trying to bring in a diverse cohort of people with a lot of different perspectives. So if that's something you're concerned about, I know that was for me, especially when I was looking at out-of-state programs. It's been really nice to be in a cohort that everyone's going to be in the same boat as you. When you're looking for housing, the rest of your cohort is. When people are trying to figure out a new city, a new state, everyone's trying to do that. So that's a nice added layer on of it too.
I would say too, sorry, go ahead. No, I was gonna say,
I just had another class.
I was gonna say moving to a new city, I didn't know anybody, like I didn't know anyone coming here. And I think to come into a cohort where you have 15 people who have the same interest as you, maybe they're not from the same place, but they're all wanting to get their Masters of Elementary. You guys all have like the same goal. So it's really comforting to move to a new place and have that similarity, have someone to hang out with, or, you know, go on a walk, or like explore Nashville and explore a new city together. And I think that's something I took for granted, or not took for granted, but like didn't realize was going to be so nice moving to like a new place post grad. So that was really nice.
So I had a question about tuition. So I've only been able to find like cost of attendance information for programs that start in the fall. And since this program has like the summer courses and the Maymester courses, I recognize that will lead to a higher tuition. I just didn't know where I could find that information.
online, I think it should be on the PBD website, but I remember there is a number that's like for every course it's this amount. It is very much like you can punch in that number and multiply. I think it's by 32, 31.
Is it by credit hour?
It's by credit hour.
Yeah.
So whatever, and Dr. Kissel will send that whole like layout of this many credits in the fall, this many in the summer, etc. And if you just add up all those, like it'll say like 13, I think in the summer you take 6, and multiply that by that number, that was pretty accurate to
Yeah.
how tuition.
I think Dr. Kissel will probably also be able to answer this question a little bit more clearly, unless anyone else has any other.
I would also shout out, this may be the first Zoom webinar you're doing for Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt offers a bunch of financial aid and resource webinars just like this. Highly suggest going to those. They'll break down tuition, they'll break down potential scholarships, FAFSA. I saw Divya shaking her head too. They talk about international studies. Like, those are really helpful. So try to go to as many. I think they have a housing one too specifically. So try to go to as many of those webinars as possible, because they will also have the most updated information for next year's. Because online, it may be talking about this year's. They change it each year to year. So they're going to start doing those probably next month and into the summer.
Hi, I'm Kristen. I have a question about like being a student teacher with a mentor teacher in the spring, and how like what your responsibilities look like. Do you always get along with your mentor teacher? Like, do you like gradually transfer the power to you? How does that affect the kids? Stuff like that.
I mean, we can
Yeah.
go for it. So you're in the school 5 days a week, starting off kind of just slowly taking on responsibility. So 1 lesson a day, building up to more lessons a day. And in the fall, also, you'll start teaching lessons. So a lot of people will start with like morning reading or like phonics skills, and then build up to bigger lessons, and usually doing 1 lesson a day. Part of our student teaching is that we build up to doing 2 full weeks by ourselves. So 2 full weeks where mentor teacher is usually in the room, but like really takes a step back, and it's just us going through the whole day.
Yeah, so we're going into that. We're doing our first next week. And I say we're doing it in separate classes, but at the same time.
We're like the same person right
Yeah,
now.
at the same school. And so we actually do fill out at the beginning of the semester like a gradual release of responsibilities, like map of how we're going to, what responsibilities we're going to have for every week and how they're going to increase. And so like, for example, our first week, I think Amanda and I taught like math and phonics, but then the second week we started teaching math and phonics and science and social studies. And then we changed to like replacing ELA with math. And so the teacher's just trying to give you as much opportunity to teach the different subjects. And I would say in terms of mentor-teacher relationships, these people have a strong relationship with Vanderbilt. And so most of them have been mentor teachers for a couple of years. And so they understand that in addition to supporting you in the classroom and like giving you feedback on some lessons on how you can improve and things you're doing well, they're also there to make sure that relationship with Vanderbilt is still strong. And so I think that it was clear from both ends that, so you'll get like a university mentor too. And so you'll have this sort of university mentor and mentor from school. And so if there's ever an issue with your mentor at school, then you can talk with your university mentor, and they're there to make sure that you're getting the experience that you're there for in order to learn how to be a teacher, while also making sure that Vanderbilt is supporting your mentor teacher in the best way that they can. So there's a lot of different avenues of support. And so like I think my best advice is like, this is a great place where you're never going to be in a situation where you're like, I don't get along with my mentor teacher at all, and there's no one to tell. And so I'm just going to have to suck it up and deal with the rest of the semester. Like, there's just so much support in all the different ways. I mean, from Dr. Kissel and Dr. Henry, who is our other director, while Dr. Kissel was on sabbatical. And so hopefully that.
Yeah, I will also say there's a very intentional pairing process with mentor teachers and student teachers. So they try and put people together who really fit and will work well together.
Right, like thinking about what grade level you want to be with. And then also they do get to, like, the university mentors get to know you. And so your personalities, like, I'm sure Dr. Kissel could probably speak more to that process, because we're not really in that, but the same driving survey that Divya and Bailey were talking about, that's where you can say like, this is the grade I want to be with, and the school maybe.
Cool,
All
thank
right,
you.
I'm hopping back in. I heard the last part. So yeah, we really do try to really thoughtfully match you with somebody. And we have long-term relationships with these teachers over the years. And really, we have 2 university supervisors, university mentors who are so important in this process. So they're Dave Moore and Cindy Feaster. And they know these teachers really well because they're constantly in the schools. And they'll say, oh, I really think Amanda would be great with so-and-so. Actually, Amanda is matched with the teacher that has her same last name.
It has happened 2 semesters in a row. I have been with Miss Smith.
Yeah. So no, we really try to be really thoughtful about it. And if there is like a real conflict between student teacher and teacher, we do figure out a way of maybe matching you with somebody else instead. It rarely happens, but I mean, it has happened in the past, just a clash of personalities. So we haven't had that happen in the last few years. I think we've kind of perfected the process a lot more over the years. So, but yeah, we're not going to make you stay in a classroom that you're absolutely miserable in. We want to make sure you're having the best experience as well. So yeah. All right, well, let me check. Let me see if you all added any questions to our document here.
And someone, Dr. Kissel, someone just asked Julia just asked a question about like day to day. And so Amanda and I just sent a message, but if anyone
Awesome.
wants to add on to that.
Yeah. Okay, is there a break between summer and fall semesters? Yes. Summer semester ends August 11th and fall begins August 28th. So there's a couple weeks in between. How will class registration work? What are typical class sizes? You will, almost all your classes will just be your cohort. There might be, though, next semester, we might combine the learning ecologies class. I don't know. I haven't heard yet, but usually it's just your cohort for all your classes. We might occasionally have a student or two that's interested in that particular topic that we allow in, but I don't think y'all had anybody in your classes this year, have you? That weren't in the cohort?
We had 1 person.
1 person? Okay,
Writing.
so yeah, that might happen, but we try to just keep it the cohort. Class registration, what I'll do is I'll be sending out an email as soon as you accept, if you accept that you're coming to Vanderbilt, I will start sending you emails about registration, like which classes to register for in the summer and when to register by. So I will make sure that gets to you. Typical
Dr.
class size.
Kissel,
Yeah.
sorry, just to add to that, I feel like in undergrad, class registration is super stressful. This is not stressful at all because you're like guaranteed to be in the class because
Yeah.
you're here for the program. So
Yeah.
like registration isn't an issue at all.
You
And because
never
we're,
have to worry about getting
Yeah.
into a class.
we're taking such specific courses because they're so specifically chosen for the program and what we need to be successful, it's like all set out for you.
Completely different than undergrad. So you are guaranteed to get in the classes that you need. And our typical class sizes are whatever our cohort size is. So this year's cohort is like 12 or so. So you'll have like 12 students in your class. Yeah, and how big is the cohort? It just depends on who ends up accepting or not. So I do I'm guessing somewhere between 10 to 20 students. I think the cohort's probably going to be similar to the size of our current cohort. I think we'll probably have like 12 or 13 from that.
Dr. Kissel, I was going to add, there was like somebody who left the cohort at the beginning because they realized that they already had their license.
Yeah.
So that maybe is something to alert people, if you already have your license, you can still come to Vanderbilt and get your master's, but you
Yeah.
wouldn't do the elementary program. Is that?
Yeah,
right?
you would probably want to do something else.
If
yeah,
she
that
went
was
to the
Mar-
reading.
Yeah, that was Marilyn, and she switched over to reading. I actually am teaching her right now in a class because I teach in the reading program also. So yeah, there's other programs on campus that you can switch into if you want to. If you already have a teaching license and you don't and you don't need another teaching license in elementary ed, then we would look into other cohorts. I don't think that, like, everybody that got accepted had clicked a button that said they do not have a teaching license and will not have a teaching license. So I don't think that's going to apply to any of y'all, but if it does, just let me know, because I can start matching you with my colleagues in other programs. Okay. Do you happen to know when FSA results come out? I don't know, because I don't normally deal with any of the financial aid stuff. There is a person who does do that. It's Rogers is her last name. Let me.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
I'm here. I know I was late. I'm so
Oh.
sorry. Hi, everyone.
Yes.
I'm Cassie. I work with
Oh,
Grad.
hi, Cassie.
I can help you with this.
Is it
if you want
Monique Rogers?
Samantha Rogers.
Okay.
And I can let you all know, if you have submitted the FAFSA, you should, and you were admitted on our February 10th release, you should see federal financial aid awards coming in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So very quickly, we're trying to get them out very quickly. If you have not submitted the FAFSA, please do it right away. And please also note that you need to submit two. You need to submit for the 2022-23 academic year. That covers your summer courses. And you also need to submit for the 2023-2024 academic year. That covers the rest of your academic time at Peabody. So if you haven't done both of those, definitely hop on that and do those, and then we can get you a financial aid award.
And Cassie, is there, are you able to put Samantha's email in the chat?
Yeah, she has
Or-
a kind of basic Peabody financial aid email, and I'll throw it in the chat right now.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there a lot of interaction between the elementary cohort and the secondary teaching cohort? Probably, well, I don't know. Current students, do you all have many interactions with secondary folks?
Unfortunately, we don't, because their program has a slightly different timeline than ours. It is not the same 11-month program, but through the different events that Peabody puts on, those are great times to meet secondary, especially because they're going to be doing student teaching too, just like you are in metro schools. So you can meet them in other avenues.
Yeah, and we'll y'all will be together with secondary when we do our Tennessee law workshop a little bit later this semester. So there will be times that we will bring both groups together, but I wouldn't say it is like a frequent time. But there will be programming, like I said, through the student engagement office, where all programs are invited to come together. So you can meet other people from other programs that way as well. How does having both a student teacher and a mentor teacher affect the children? What would you all say? I think the kids love it, but what would you all say?
I would agree, they love it. It was one of my kids' birthdays today, and he brought me a cupcake. So we're very exciting. Yeah, it's a good relationship. I think it's really fun for the kids to kind of learn from someone new. And it's also really cool to tell them that they're helping us learn, and that they're helping us become teachers, and they feel really proud and important.
And the kids are so stinking cute. I was out visiting everybody the last couple Wednesdays, and they are excited that you all are in there working with them. So they're such cute kids, so you'll have a good time with them.
Yeah, it's surprising, I guess not surprising, but the fact that we come in January, but we so quickly feel part of the class. I know the mentor teachers, they're used to doing this, so they're used to welcoming someone in and making sure the students respect us as people in another teacher role. So
Somebody asked, this is a great question. What makes Peabody unique in comparison to other elementary education master's programs? Just because I went to other schools for my own degrees, I think Peabody really prides itself on building community, really individualizing our instruction so that you are not a number in our program. Like, we know who you are and we have conversations with you, and you get to know your professors pretty well. And I would also say that there is a lot, like the outside programming, like with the student engagement. I think that's really unique. I don't think a lot of other colleges have something that holistic kind of curriculum that brings you together doing other things. So I think that is unique. We have an office of like a career office where there's a lot of help with helping you find jobs and putting together your resume. And we also do an interview relay practice, so you can get practice interviewing with different school districts and other folks across the country. Oftentimes those are places where people get jobs from that. Did any of y'all just did that this past week, right? Last week? How did it go? Good? Yeah, okay. So you get practice interviewing, but also you get a lot of opportunities to get jobs through that. Our local school district loves our graduates. And so they are always like begging to hire our graduates. So in terms of job placement, we have like 100% of people who graduate from our program gets a job as a teacher, if they want a job as a teacher. Some students end up maybe going someplace else and not teaching right away after they come out. But anybody who wants a job as a teacher will come out of our program with a job. And the local community, the Nashville community in Williamson County, which is another county just next door to Davidson County, where Nashville is located, I love our graduates. So that's another benefit. I would also say what makes Peabody unique is that we're a really well-known education program. We just have a rich tradition of being just really on the cutting edge of education and innovative practices and things like that. In some master's programs, you'll go and your courses will be all lecture based. You won't have a lot of lecture based in our classes. It's going to be a lot more hands-on, a lot more interactive, a lot more group community based. So that I think makes the program unique. And then just the small size, I think contributes to like an intimacy that you wouldn't get from other places. Like a place like Middle Tennessee State University has a great teacher ed program also, but it's humongous. And so you're going to be in classes with just huge groups of students. So you don't get that personal touch. So I think that, and the last thing I'll say is the connections that you'll make. So Peabody has such a long tradition. My mother-in-law went to Peabody 60 years ago. So did I ever tell you all that? My wife's parents, my mother-in-law was at Peabody and my father-in-law was at Vanderbilt Law School. And to make extra money, he drove the bus to USN. Used to be a Peabody school. It used to be our lab school. He used to drive the bus for that. And my mother-in-law was a teacher at that school, and that's how they met. So that was 60 years ago. And even back then, Peabody was known as being just an exemplary teacher ed program. So you just have this rich history of people who have come through Peabody who have really done interesting, innovative things in education worldwide. So I think that's what would separate Peabody from other programs. Is there a Tennessee teacher certification test that we need to pass? There's going to be EdTPA, which is it's kind of a national test. It's scored by a company called Pearson. And that most states require an EdTPA assessment. And then in Tennessee, you also have to pass a few different what we call praxis tests, which other states also require. So I think there's maybe 2 or 3 praxis tests. Help me out, Bailey, Amanda, Paige, Divya. Yeah, two praxis tests and an EdTPA test that you'll be doing. Do most students have cars? Yes, I would say in our master's program they do. Yeah, Nashville's is not a public transportation friendly city. I mean, we have buses here, but they're not the most reliable. And you will be going out to schools, and we don't have a ton of schools that are within walking distance to campus. So I would say most of our schools are a couple miles from campus, but that's not necessarily walkable. There's kind of busy streets. And then we have a couple schools that are pretty far from campus. So if you have a car, I would highly suggest bringing it. If you don't have a car, we do give you surveys to find out who does have cars, who doesn't have cars, and we try to match you up so that you are able to get to schools. But that's always a tricky thing, and it's always a thing that we have that we complain about because we want you all to be able to get to the places you need to get to without a car. But the infrastructure in Nashville is not that great. And then I answered the other one. And so Bailey just wrote in here, another unique aspect of Peabody, we have a focus on joyful teaching and learning. I would agree. Joy is really central to what we do and how we teach. This is unique since much of education can have a negative focus or connotation. Yep, absolutely. I mean, teaching should be fun. And we're teaching little kids, it shouldn't be so serious all the time. We're in the business of making kids' lives happy lives through our teaching, and schools should be a safe place for them to really joyfully learn. So we try to exhibit that in our own teaching, and we hope it comes across so that you all can then do the same in your own teaching with kids. So. All right, I have gone over like 15 minutes of our time. So any other questions, you can always email me. I'm going to put my phone number in the chat as well, because you can always call or text me as well. There's my phone number. Yeah, any follow-up questions that you might have, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer anything. We really hope you choose our program. We read your applications and we loved what y'all had to say and who you all are. So we hope you choose us because we think you would be a great addition to our Peabody family. So. Oh, and Amanda and Paige put their emails in there if you have any questions that are.
Feel free to reach out. I know this can be kind of an overwhelming process, moving to a new city, making this decision. So if you have any questions at all, please let us know. We were in your shoes a year ago.
Thank
which is
you.
crazy.
All right. All right. Well, thank you all. It's good to see everybody, and I hope to see you soon. All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye, everybody. Thank you, students. I appreciate you so much.